So what is Co-reg? Effectively, it's a very cost-efficient, effective way for companies to get consumers' details to enable marketing to those consumers in a targeted way. So it is a site which incentivizes a consumer on the basis of being the chance to win a competition, a trip to New York or a new iPad. If you part with your details, so your name, address, your email, your phone number, and then tick boxes based on different adverts or different promotions by different providers to opt into marketing from those providers relevant to your particular ticks. So this is the sort of promotion to a co-reg that the consumer will see. As I go through a co-reg site, you may not be able to see some of this, but this is the sort of promotion. So there's a Google search here. If you free UK competitions online, you will come up with My Offers, which is one of the lead advertisers, and then over on the left-hand side, you've got a banner ad that floats down the side of a website that you may be visiting. The incentive is to get you to the co-reg site. Here's My Offers. And My Offers is it's a plethora of companies that want your consumer details. Now, I, as a consumer, part with my personal details as infrequently as possible. I untick all the pre-ticked boxes, but there's incentives that My Offers give to sign up and go through their adverts, which is, if you can see on the left-hand side, is competitions to win holidays, iPads, iPhones, etc. On the right-hand side, you can see that there's the registration, where you put all your personal details. Now, there is a potential issue that few consumers want to win all the prizes, but don't want all the marketing. So they may actually put in some false details, like I don't really live at that address, or that isn't really my phone number, in order not to get the marketing, but be in with the chance to get the prize. They'll probably put the right email address, because that's how the prize is going to be notified to you. And here's a very typical competition, which if you can see at the top of the screen, says win an iPhone, and then just here, if you can see my finger, in the absence of a laser pointer, you can see complete the questions to answer to enter the prize draw, and there's a series of questions. And these are, this is NPower, British Gas is advertising in there, Vodafone, they also advertise. So you go through, this particular one says, what is your current electricity supplier, which is a bit of a pun, and then who's your gas supplier. And effectively, if you answered NPower to those questions, you wouldn't get any marketing. If you answered one of the NPower's competitors, then they'd be contacting you and trying to switch you to NPower. And it goes on. So more, these tabs on the top, these are like more competitions, particularly targeted at home, travel, motoring, money, etc. And then down the screen, you can choose the competitions that you want to enter into. So this is the first encounter of a premium rate service. Everything else is effectively giving up your rights to privacy by saying, I'd like to be contacted by NPower about my electricity supply. This one is actually a premium rate service where a charge will be incurred. So this one is run by SB7, and if you look at it, again, it's the standard My Offers frame at the top. So it's complete the questions to answer the prize draw, and then underneath the competition is guess a celebrity, and you could win an iPhone 6. Now I'm going to expand on the advert because the advert has several warnings attached to it, which is this prize is not connected with what it's trying to say is it's not connected with any free prize draws or giveaways, so please carefully read the pricing information below before entering. So that's good signposting to a consumer, assuming a consumer sort of reading down and not just clicking buttons blindly. And then further below, where the mobile number is requested, so My Offers doesn't ask for a mobile number up front, it says 16 plus only, join this Juicy Wing competition and bonus draw for $4.50 per week until you text stop to 80122, which is the recommended information that's given to a subscriber pre to entering a subscription service. So this is really, really a very good example of a well-run page for a subscription service. The issue is the consumers are just going click, 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 click. All right, they're blind to everything else, and this is what we're encountering is consumer rush through to get into this competition, that competition, and it's just click anything that doesn't move, put in details, and then what's sent from SP7 is the first message. Because you put your mobile number in, you could be putting somebody else's mobile number in. So the mobile number is then sent from my office once you get to the bottom of that page full of competition questions. You click the continue button. My office then sends a mobile number to the provider. The provider then has to verify that mobile number is legitimate because it could be a friend's mobile number. If it was my daughter, she would put my mobile number on, because I'm the one who's got the money in my account. So in order to verify it, a message is sent to that mobile number to say, please answer this question. Effectively, they want a message back as a verification. This is an alternative company called Swoosh. This is a slightly different mechanic. And when you register for Swoosh, you actually put your mobile number in. So when you get to a premium rate service, I'm not sure if you can see that, the mobile number is pre-populated here. It still says, just very close to where the mobile number is, it still says 16 plus only, join this competition service, £4.50 a week. And it is asking you here to choose between an iPhone 6, a Galaxy S5, or not interested. If you click not interested, that information is not sent to the provider. What PhonePay Plus is saying, because the phones are, the calls are coming in, is that the consistency of the complaints which highlight that consumers do not appear to link the website promotions, so the My Offers, etc., with the subsequent text messages that they receive to complete the subscription. They get the text message, they don't relate it to entering a subscription service. Now, the provider's done as much as possible to notify the consumer of the subscription service, and it's just this rush through which is potentially an issue. Second thing PhonePay Plus is saying is the potential risks that its opt-in method poses, where third-party robust verification for consent to be marketed, actually that should say consent to be charged, really, is not in place. So who is actually able to provide the evidence to PhonePay Plus or even to the consumer that you actually saw these screens, you actually put your mobile number in, and you actually tick the box that said to you wanted to be charged, and you actually responded to the message. So who is providing what PhonePay Plus call the robust verification for consent to charge? What a lot of people do not know is in June 2014, a few short months ago, there was a new European-wide legislation came in which replaced distance selling contracts, which sits as broad consumer regulation regardless of payment mechanic, which has actually got an extremely long title, but it's shortened to the Consumer Contract Regulation 2013, because that's when Europe approved it, and it's approved in December in Parliament, UK Parliament, implemented June. And I've extracted some of the information from it, which is when a consumer is on a website in distance selling, the trader must make available to the consumer the information listed in one of their appendices in a clear and comprehensible manner. The trader must ensure that the consumer, when placing the order, explicitly acknowledges that the order implies an obligation to pay. And if the placing the order entails activating the button is labelled, legible, and the wording is unambiguous. And it must indicate that there is an obligation to pay. And if there is no express consent, then this is what's known as a pre-ticked box situation. if there's no express consent inferred from a consumer not changing a default option, then that sale is invalid. What that effectively means, if anyone used to go onto EasyJet and you book a flight and they would go, you're right, £45 for the flight, but your bill was £56, how did that happen? Well, you bought insurance because you didn't untick the box. Well, that's now illegal, and EasyJet have taken off that option, to Ryanair as well, and you have to tick the box to say you want insurance. So I'm going to shut up in a second. So what AIME is doing is we've got a group which was formed last year, which is called the Digital Marketing Working Group, which works a lot on the affiliate marketing, which we'll hear about in a minute, and after coffee. And we've extended the remit of that group to look at the issues around Co-reg. And the issues are the consumer awareness and the provision of that explicit opt-in to charging by the consumer. So we're looking at that. We're developing a guidance document for those who are using Co-reg, and we're meeting with PhonePay Plus to say, look, if we can work towards this broad guidance related to Co-reg, we should be able to eliminate quite a lot of the consumer-based issues. So the things we're looking at is what signposting they need, how does the consumer positively opt into that charge, and really knows what they're doing. What is the message that's sent to that mobile number? Is it a neutral message? Does it have to contain pricing? We're working through that. And very importantly, how does the provider, because contract regulation asks for this, how does the provider exercise their burden of proof? Because the burden of proof of the consumer actually opting into those charges rests solely with the company that's providing the service. Now under the new regulation. So the consumer can say, I didn't opt into anything, and the merchant has to say, yes you did, because here's the screens, here's the message we sent, here's your response to that burden of proof. And I talked all about that, so I'm going to shout it out.
Right, lovely. Okay, that's a whistle-stop tour of Co-reg. We're joined here by a couple of people who are involved in using it. James, what's sort of your experience with Co-reg?
So we work with quite a few different providers, very similar to how SB7 in the example shows. We only work with people, I think it's important to note, that have been independently audited by the DMA, Data Marketers Association. So they come in and they say, this is how you're providing the data to these partners, so we're not just blindly working out, but that's how we work with quite a few Co-reg providers.
How difficult is it to sort of make sure what you're doing sort of meets all the rules and regulations?
I mean, from what we've seen, it's very similar to affiliate marketing. So we do due diligence on all our Co-reg partners. Basically, before we get involved with them, we look at their traffic, we look at complaints, we look at the directors, all that sort of standard stuff. It's then kind of ongoing in terms of monitoring process. So if you get a great converting day or a bad converting day, you pick up the phone and you essentially say what's going on. It is quite time intensive working with these partners because there are partners out there which will be marketed by, be endorsed by DMA, but they'll just be sending through leads that are erroneous. And it happens, and I know that other people in our market, and we have the same, they've got systems in place that if a Co-reg provider, for instance, in a second or an hour sends through abnormal volume, they'll cut them off and they'll question it. So you always have to be kind of diligent on that side.
Right, great. And Mark, what's your involvement with Co-reg?
We work with James on providing the technical aspects to the services they run. And just listening to what James says there, I think it's quite important, is that even after all of the hard work and due diligence that they do with the Co-reg partners that they work with, we still see the consumer issues coming through. So it's I don't think it matters how much hard work you put in at that front end with the due diligence of it. Consumers do tend to ignore the important information that we actually put on there, highly visible for them to see, and they ignore it because they're excited about an iPad.
I would say one of the big dangers with Co-reg is on paths you get 4 or 5 maybe different premium rate offers, and so a consumer that doesn't know what they're signing up to or isn't reading can sign up to maybe 5, 6 different subscription services and wake up, with a £100 bill. And also that goes down as when it comes through to Phone Plus, 6 different complaints for 6 different providers. And it's frustrating for us, but it does happen.
Yeah, what can be done about that, if anything?
From a technical point of view, one of the things that we do is we look at any service that's running on the technical platform, and we don't allow a consumer to be in multiple pots because we think it's just going to cause issues. So that's something that we're able to control. It might be that if we were running a platform for another company, you might say, okay, well, they can be in theirs and theirs, but they can't be in 3 of theirs.
Right.
And it's trying to work sensibly with what the consumer is doing and making sure you have control mechanisms in place to sort of alleviate any problems.
I think it's so the Co-reg partners themselves should have some sort of front-end verification, so they shouldn't allow an affiliate to erroneously generate hundreds of records from the same kind of user agent or something like that. So they should be checking for that, and if they aren't, they're probably not worth working with. I think there's 2 issues that we've noticed from complaints from working with Phone Plus that they've identified. The first is a consumer basically saying, did not know that this was a paid service, and we do get those kind of complaints. And I think from that point of view, from what Rory's shown, it's about signposting. It's about saying, look, this isn't connected with anything else. Here's the price. Make sure you read the price. And it's also about a positive kind of opt-in to the premium rate entry. So you don't want something that is pre-ticked, something like that. The second is, and this is something we don't quite agree with, but it's kind of this whole privacy and consent to charge. So what Phone Plus have told us is, even with ignore if not requested, consumers are saying, look, didn't know there was a charge. And they're saying because there's a call to action in the text message, it counts as a promotion. Now, we've run kind of independent tests, basically with essentially third-party verification and also ignore if not requested, and the percentages don't change. The same amount of people opt in. But it's important to note that when someone opts into your service by Co-reg, if you're collecting data correctly, you've got their name, you've got their address, you've got the time they've entered, so you can come back to them and say, look, these are the details we've got, that's what we have.
Right. Rory?
Yeah, I was just going to say one of the debates is that message that comes through to the consumer. Is that a verification message, which we believe it is, or is it a promotion? And does it need to contain pricing information? Now, there are several issues around that. What we're trying to do is to say, actually, on the site, as long as the consumer has positively opted into the service and is fully aware of the charges through that positive opt-in, so a box that says, press this button only if you've read the pricing or something, something like that, that is an actual positive action, then the consumer has entered a contract. So the consumer contract regulation is actually benefits the merchant as well as the consumer, because once the consumer has entered a contract with the merchant through that information, then anything beyond that is not a promotion. You can't promote a service that somebody has already bought. So if I buy a book from Amazon, I wouldn't expect to have that book promoted to me in a subsequent communication. So the consumer enters a contract, and we can make that really clear that on the site the consumer is entering a contract with the merchant who's promoting that service, and anything downstream is a verification of the message. If we go down the message actually has to contain pricing information route and is treated as a promotion, what we're seeing at the moment is a lot of consumers are saying, I wasn't even on a website, and the reason is because somebody else has put their number in. So my daughter has put my number in without telling me, or she may have put my friend, one of her friends' number in because she doesn't want to be marketed to. And she's just put a friend, or maybe one of the school enemies, whatever. So the person who receives that message, if they receive a promotion, that's an unsolicited promotion, and that immediately breaches the PhonePay Plus code. So we can't have a recommendation coming from PhonePay Plus that says do this, but by the way, in doing that, you're now in breach. So we have to work through that situation, and we believe the primary area of where this resolves is actually on the site, is getting that positive opt-in from the consumer.
I think it's also, if you treat that initial text message as promotion, which is the way that PhonePay Plus seems to be trying to push this, as a competition provider, we have to put in all our terms. If it's a promotion, I've got to put in my free route to entry, I've got to put in open close dates, I've got to put in pricing, and it's not feasible.
Well, from a technical perspective, Mark, is there anything you can sort of...
From a technical perspective, there's 160 characters in the text, so James is absolutely spot on. You can't get it all in there. And I think from a regulatory point of view, saying it's a promotional message is it's incorrect. It's not. Promotion is there. It's pretty plain to see. That's so, from Rory's point of view, having the submit button or the play button or whatever it is, and those clear contractual terms at that point. It's plainly obvious. I don't understand why it seems or even muted to be a promotional message.
I would basically say that if there's a high number of complaints, and what providers should be looking out for is it's because either the offers are stacking against each other and there's consumers not, and it's the signposting. It's not. We haven't seen an issue with, from our point of view, from our independent testing, we haven't seen an issue from consumers filling out their details to getting the text. Like most consumers that are putting in their details online, they're the ones getting the text. They're not filling out erroneous details. So the main issue is the signposting to the pre-rate entry, and that's, in terms of from a co-reg point of view, it's really important that you follow best practice, because otherwise it's just going to cause a lot of consumer harm.
I've spent, over a long period of time now, I've spent a lot of time handling some of the customer service calls from consumers that have phoned about these services. And something that's very interesting is that they start on the phone not very happy sometimes. When you go through the text messages that they've received, the dates and the times, you tell them you've got their IP address, and you can tell them when they were sat at their computer and the page that they went to, and you take them back to that page. So, are you sat at your computer? Yes, I am. Okay, go to this address. Right. Can you see that? Yeah, that's what you did. Oh yeah, I remember now. Yep. So it's not that the consumer didn't do it. 9 times out of 10 they did. It's that they don't recall doing it. And to put regulations in place because consumers don't have a very good memory of what they've done, I think is the wrong way to go.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that, is there?
No.
Why do you think there is this disconnect between them entering something and then totally forgetting about it?
Because we've got iPads, TVs, phones, emails. We spend 90% of our time communicating in different ways, and we don't remember what we did from one day to the next half the time unless we've written it down.
Yeah, it's important to note that the consumer's behaviour, the people that interact with these sites, they like competitions. So we've got a few different services, and there's different people on different services. And what we notice is, they'll be entering for a front-end offer, maybe for holiday, 1 month, and then the next month they're entering for iPhone 6, and they're doing this independently because all these co-reg sites, they share the data, so that they'll market, cross-market. So from a consumer point of view, I could see if they're interacting with so many competitions, they may forget, where they've interacted with specific competitions, and then have that question.
When we get an RFI from PhonePay Plus with consumers' mobile details on there, one thing we first do is we stick that mobile number into our database and we scan every service that we've run. And a lot of the time, those numbers that are coming in, they've used a multitude of different premium rate services over many years. I'm going back to scratch cards. So some of the consumers that have used James's service, they've used scratch cards some 5 years ago. That data, we still have that data, so we know that consumer is an avid player of competitions and quizzes and games.
So with that sort of data, can you go to PhonePay Plus and say, look, these people do all this sort of stuff, they've clearly forgotten that they entered this particular competition. Does that mitigate?
If I get the permission of the consumer, yeah.
Right.
Give these details to PhonePay Plus.
I mean,
it's blatantly obvious.
I would say can do, and we've done it previously. I just think from PhonePay Plus's point of view, there's a fundamental misunderstanding of how Co-reg works. I think they group it in as a standard affiliate journey or web sign up. And we've tried to educate them because we actually run it very differently to how some of these services run, in the fact that with some of our services we know 100%, we don't even use Ignore if not requested, we're using PIN mechanism, but we still get feedback back saying, where's the robust verification? We've already got it. I think from PhonePay Plus is if they're seeing a higher amount of complaints here, they need to really study how Co-reg works, because these companies, they're selling data to British Gas, they're selling data to MPower, they're selling to O2, and the data they're selling us, it is verified from their end, and then we verify it from our end further.
Yep.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Something, Rory?
Yeah. So it's coming back to in consumer contract regulation, it talks about the burden of proof. But what essentially is what you've talked about, Mark, is that when you've got a consumer on the phone, you walk them through a repeat of that exercise. That is essentially what the burden of proof is something that you actually send back to the consumer and say, yeah, here's your IP address, this date time you were on this screen, here's an image of the screen, much like I put up on the screen here. We sent you this text message, you responded from this phone number, therefore, based on the information that was available to you at the point you opted in, we believe you are liable for these charges. And based on that, that comprehensive information to the consumer, if it's through PhonePay Plus and so here, but to the consumer, should overcome a lot of the forgetful consumer issues, and really just concentrate on those that have actually other forms of issues.
This is no different from a consumer saying, I didn't do this, to the guy that phones up Babe Station or Playboy or whatever other adult service and says, I didn't make that call. When you present him with the very nice call recording for 11 minutes of him doing whatever it is he's doing, and you send him an email of that, it's obvious he made the call. He's there. You walk the consumer through the journey they did through the website. It's obvious they did it. But the consumer, sometimes I think the industry is tarnished with being liars and deceitful and such like. Actually, we're running very reputable businesses, and it's the consumer, 9 times out of 10, that is lying about what they've done.
One issue, sorry to, and this is not bashing PhonePay Plus because we're talking PhonePay Plus about it. If you go onto the PhonePay Plus website, because you've got this charge against your bill, there is a section that says how to complain, and in that section it says you are likely to get a refund if you enter the subscription service by mistake, and that is completely and absolutely wrong, because if you enter the subscription service with all the information available to you, you are in a contractual commitment, just like if you bought a book from Amazon or anything else from Amazon. It's a contractual commitment, and the wording needs to be changed to say, if you enter the subscription service and you knew what you were doing, you won't get you are liable for all the charges, but talk to the provider and they may.
This also goes back to what this all.
Sorry. Well, not even they.
That's one choice. Making a mistake is not enough in itself, because you could have had all the information and still make a mistake.
Yeah.
It's why you want to select.
Yeah.
Insurance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But if you read some of the blog sites, well, there's one famous one which I could pull up, which is one of the blog sites that says, I've been charged from this short code. It only happens in the morning. It's really weird. And somebody else says, oh yeah, that's a scam, it's a well-known scam. And it goes on, scam. Right at the bottom, after about 20, 30 people saying they've been scammed, somebody wrote, you're idiots. You were riding on Great Western entertainment carriage where you pay for your movies in the morning using a short code, right? And that's really, it's a great example of how consumers just go immediately, yes, I've been misled, yes, I've been scammed, and somebody's saying, actually, you bought that knowingly, you bought a video.
Chris? Not being back on procurement, not going to be unwelcome because they are about limited on
Yeah.
I know the stock market is up 35 now.
what James was saying with regards to the way, I'm not going to go into detail about it because I think it's wrong to do so, but they use a pin, which completely enables us, them, the consumer, to tie the promotion, the text, the charging back together. So I think that's a much cleaner way of doing it than having another 2 or 3 messages with a list of terms and conditions. Sorry, Chris.
And you can like find it out in like the FDT?
No. No.
What I would say is we've tried PIN and we've tried ignore if not requested, both ways, and the conversion rate doesn't really change. So the consumers which are interacting with the PIN are the same consumers which are interacting with the ignore if not requested. So I don't think there's an issue with not remembering the web promotion. I think if there is an issue, it's actually the promotional material, basically, the signposting of the pre-and rate service.
Right. Let's have some coffee.